Sure.
So shall we begin?
Sorry, I hit the close button by mistake and I got logged off.
No problem, sir. Shall we begin?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm all set.
Sure. So, a very good morning to one and all present here. Today, we, the Placement Committee of MDI Murshidabad, takes great pleasure in welcoming you all to the Corporate Talk Series Ameya. Ameya, which means limitless or boundless in Sanskrit, perfectly embodies the spirit of our institution. At MDI Murshidabad, we believe in pushing the boundaries of knowledge and excellence, and this series is a testament to our commitment to providing students with invaluable insights and perspectives from the corporate world. In the fast paced and ever evolving world of business and industry, we must stay ahead of the curve. The series will provide valuable knowledge and ignite the flames of innovation within each one of us. We envision Ameya as a space where ideas unite, boundaries vanish, and limitless potential unfolds. So let us embark on this remarkable journey of Ameya, our beacon of limitless possibilities and knowledge. So today we have with us our guest speaker, Mr. Debashish Ghosh. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Debashish as a true industry leader with over 18 years of work experience in HR domain, currently working as a Senior Vice President Human Resource in Workadia. Prior to this, Mr. Debashish was associated with GE and Genpact, managing multiple roles in HR. He's an executive alumnus of IIM Calcutta and a certified practitioner of several behavior and personality assessment tools. Mr. Debashish has been awarded with two of the most prestigious HR credentials in the world, that is Senior Certified Professional from Society of Human Resource Management and Global Talent Management Leader from Talent Management Institute. Apart from this, he has also been featured in Forbes India magazine as India's 50 Best HR Leaders 2021 and recognized by Silicon India magazine as one of the top 10 most promising HR leaders 2020. Today, he will share his valuable insights on the topic using ESG approach to sustainability vision and mission. We are very thrilled to host you, sir. So without any further delay, let's get started. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Akanksha. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Akanksha, you gave me such a nice introduction. People might be thinking I'm a Virat Kohli of HR world. I am not. At the best, I can be Rituraj Gaikwad. Is that okay? I think he's a very promising player. I like him a lot. So I'm a Rituraj Gaikwad, not a Virat Kohli. So I want to set some expectations very, very right. But thank you for the very generous introduction. I'm very happy to be here and talking to all of you. Good morning to you all, first of all. And very happy to be here to talk to about a subject which is not very often talked about. And this is a very novel subject in a way that there is a lot of newness to it. And I believe that there's some information we will exchange. I won't say I will just share, might be we'll exchange some information and knowledge, which you might be hearing for the first time. This would not be something which probably it's very commonly talked about. And when I come to MDI Murshidabad, I don't want to talk about a very generic topic, which probably I've heard about or known about. I want to really challenge myself to give my best and also challenge you all in a sense that we can have some good discussions and information exchange. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that. I think the entire time is about an hour or so. We will also try to keep some time to have some Q&A. You can also stop me, raise your virtual hand, or I can see your hands also. I can ask some questions. Otherwise, we'll see how it goes from there. So questions are absolutely welcome. Akanksha, how much time do we have for this session?
So 1 hour.
1 hour should be enough. Beyond that, on a Saturday morning is very, very difficult. So yes, okay, let's get started. We have some ground to cover. And I hope I have the share screen access. Yes, I do. Do I also have, can people also put their comments on chat? I hope that is okay, right? I'm just putting good morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you all see my message?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And then you can also add your messages. Okay, all right. So some of it, if there is a question, thought, we can just unmute and just say, or else you can also type it in on your chat as well. All right. Okay, we all get started. Let's get started. Let me share my screen. Give me one moment. There you go. And Akanksha, if you can confirm if you're able to see my screen on the presentation mode now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. All right. Now I will start with a I don't know what to say this, with a bit of a question for you, a bit of an activity for us, and with a very simple one. There is not a trick question. It is not something which is very esoteric. So I'll put in a sentence on my screen, a simple sentence on my screen, and you will just have to do one simple thing for me. You'll just have to count the number of times the letter F as in Frank, the letter F is used in that sentence. That's it. No trick question, trust me. Okay, I'll come and ask a question on that, but there's no trick on it, right? Very simple. There'll be a sentence coming up. Count the number of F's in that sentence. I'll keep it on for a few seconds and then take it back. Okay, everybody? Everybody up for it? Look at your screen and count the number of F's in that in that particular sentence. Okay, all right. Let me see some chat. How many people have count? 4. Divya says 4. 5, 6, 3, 7, 6. My God. 8. All right. Okay, 6, 3. The range is starting from 3 to 8. Now, this was a very simple question, no trick, but looks like there is a discrepancy between what you're thinking. So some of you might be right, some of you has to be wrong because the answers are different. Do you want to do it one more and see? Just take one more chance and see who's going to be right. All right, let's see. One more time. All right. Anybody has changed their mind? 7, 6, 3, 4, 2. Okay, the range is started from 2 to 7 or 8 or something like that now. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Good. No trick question. You can count now. The answer is actually 6. Sometimes it happens that, the letters at the end of the word, like off, some of you who had done like 3 or 4 might have missed out on the off and F in off. So that is also quite happened. So no trick question. It is just a bit of thing to wake us all up on a Saturday morning before we start about our topic. And you can play this with your other students and others also. So it'll be interesting. All right. Now let's talk about the topic. I had a talk in MDI Gurgaon a couple of weeks back, and this is what I shared as a the theme for what I believe is ESG is. And it is really the balance or the tension, or really the interchange or exchange between the value and the values of an organization. Value is here profitability, market share, bottom line, EBITDA, right? Products, services, the value that you bring to yourself in terms of financial incentive, and also the value that you give to your customer. Values is all we know, what we stand for, our purpose, our culture, and everything. Which do you think are more important, value or values? Put 1 for value and 2 for values on the chat, please, for me. 1 for value and 2 for values. Okay. Most of you are saying 2. I think it's very, and that's the bigger answer we'll have to, when you think about ESG, if you see, I think both are equally important, right? If you just go for values and you don't, if the company is not profitable, not making money, not having the right products and things like that, you won't survive. Obviously, you sometimes might argue that values drive that as well. But challenge really is that. Challenge really, how do you maintain that balance, right? How do you look at values without compromising on the value and vice versa? So obviously, when you talk about this, and some of you know that I am pretty active on LinkedIn, and obviously when you post on social media, you attract a lot of comments, a lot of views, a lot of perspectives. And this is the picture I put it up from that presentation. And interestingly, I thought it was a very harmless picture. There's nothing, it's a picture that is very, very simple, but I think someone noticed this, which is obviously not carried by me. The organizers had given a bottle of water for all the panel discussions to have it. And this is what it is. I felt this was very simple. I used that during my talk, but obviously it had a very interesting observation from one of my friends, very senior person, and I'm putting a name because first of all, I think he made a brilliant point about this, and it is also, the name is because it is on social media. It is on my LinkedIn handle. That, if you read the last sentence that he mentioned, is very, 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 very powerful. It says, so if you're talking about ESG, if I'm talking about ESG, or any MDI Murshidabad is talking about ESG, and if you are organizing an event and inviting me, you cannot be giving me on a glass of on a plastic bottle which is not recyclable. I mean, it is almost like you have to walk the talk. Let's say for today, now I'm carrying my water bottle in a glass, very disposable. So I'm very cautious about that. Extremely, extremely powerful point. And I won't say counter argument. You cannot counter that argument. I think it's already very, very well made. My humble submission, if you will, was this, that, it is a great thought to give water in a disposable glass. Okay. First of all, the disposable glasses come with a 60 ml paper cup. So MDI Murshidabad is inviting me to talk around ESG, and they're giving me water in a disposable glass on the dais. First of all, you need to refill all the time. Secondly, there is a risk of spillage, right? And secondly, it is much more expensive than plastic. So I think unless we have a solution which is like a bottle, which is made of paper, which I can open and drink it almost like from a paper glass or paper bottle, we will keep using these plastic bottles. Because it doesn't make sense for us to look at only values and increase the cost of the company, not caring about the profitability and the bottom and top line. So again, as I said, the tension will remain. The tension between whether to use a plastic glass or whether to use a disposable water bottle will remain. And that is not an easy thing to solve. Okay. And that is why I made the comment. And I still think the tension will be there. What impacts businesses is something that's all of us know. It is not a laundry list. It is something that's can be added to it. You will have more thoughts. You go to the market with a product like an Apple. Apple cannot just sell a product; it has to sell services, right? You obviously have to make sure that if this phone doesn't work, we'll have to go and kind of call a service center or go to that shop. Strategy: should Apple only build those high value phones, or should it compete with Oppo or, I don't know, Miramax and come to that category? And talent, hiring talent, competition, what competition does sometimes have you to change, keeping in pace. Consumer behaviors change all the time. Your ad marketing, the market conditions, those are things that impacts the businesses. A lot of these, thankfully, a lot of these are controllable, right? You define the strategy, you define the services, you hire the talent, you define the product, you have the money to spend in ad and marketing. In a way, you can do a lot of research on consumer behavior and competition. You can change your game based on that. In a lot of way, it is controllable. The challenge really is that, when there are a few things, and this is something you definitely have heard about, whether in the first year or second year of your MBA, pestle, there are pestle factors that impacts business as well. Political factors, environmental factors, legal, economic, social, and technological, right? I don't know if we have to add a new more category after COVID has come in, because these factors that you see on your screen, you really do not control these. This happens externally, and this happens all of a sudden. It happens unannounced, right? There is no strategy being made for the government of India changing the wages, coming up with the wage bill. And suddenly you say that it has to be, everybody has to be paid double the salary, for example. What happens to your profitability? You don't control that. Earthquake comes, environmental factors, you can't do business, right? And COVID, I think, is I don't know if you have to categorize an environmental factor or no. You can't really be prepared for this. Legal factors, new laws come in. You can't, economic things, and the thing that happened because of COVID economy, you don't control this. Technology, I think it is a little bit of good. It can merit a good discussion. Some of the technology we can be more proactive in building a technology, but a lot of times it is the technology that is coming like the form of AI. When generative AI came in, when typically it has been there for some time, but an open AI came in with this, we're all kind of responding to it. Now, what do we do, right? The reason, I think, because these are uncontrollable, these, solving these problems in a way becomes a lot more interesting. But frankly, we don't assign much importance to it. We believe that this can happen all of a sudden. We cannot predict it. To a large extent, yes, but to some extent, we can also know what is happening around us. Our ears and eyes have to be open to what is happening around us. And all of these merit a lot of discussion, but in the context of ESG, and ESG, all of you would know, it stands for ecological or environment, social, and governance. Okay, and each of these E, S, and G can merit a lot of discussion. We'll probably have one full day session, but for the sake of brevity, for the sake of today's session, we'll stick on to social factors and try to understand what is happening in the world around us, which impacting the businesses. Because end of the day, we are talking of ESG, not as an NGO, but talking of ESG from the context of running businesses. Because you are management students, you'll be running businesses in a few years from now. So how does it impact things around you, and what can you do about it? All right. As I said, this topic is not much discussed about, but I think it's worth a conversation. Right? It's not a topic that just run in the mill. And the reason why it is important is for, in the year 2040s, not in the year, in the decade of 40s, something great will happen. What will happen is around that time, you will all be running big organizations. 2040 is about 10 to 15 years down the line. So all of you here, all of you, I cannot read out all the names, but Rishabh, Deepak, Ashi, Aman, Sumit, Shashank, Hassan, Ayush, all of you will be either CEOs of a company or CXOs of a company. You'll be CXOs of Procter and Gamble, of Chanel, of TCS. Imagine, right? Or you'll be CEOs of your own startups, or you'll be CEOs of your own life. So in 2040, something amazing will happen with this group, right? How would the world look like when you become CEOs of these organizations, of new organizations that you want to start up, or when you become CEO of your life? How would the world look like around you from a social factor? And that is very important for us to know, right? I'm not a Babaji, I'm not a astrologer, so I cannot predict what has happened. I can confidently say nobody can predict here. All of us, here more than 100 people, nobody can really say what will really happen. But what advantage all of us have as management students, as people who work organizations, is that we have a lot of data, lots and lots of amazing data. When you have data, you can make some reasonably good predictions. And that is what makes us different from the Babajis, right? Babajis will just say what they feel like, but we can say based on some good information. Good information. I'm stressing on that, not the information that you get from WhatsApp University. So what we'll do today is share some amazing data. And with this amazing data, okay, we'll try to look at the future. Now, obviously, I look at the data and I have some thoughts, but I'm not here to claim that what I think is right. I think when you look at the data and trying to predict something will happen, all of us can be right in some way. So what I'll do today in the session, will show you some amazing information. And after that, we'll come back to the screen and look at the binocular, look at 15 years, 16 years ahead of us and see how the world will look like. And when you are the CEOs or CXOs of the company, what will you do? Because what I'm trying to do here is that if something is changing in the world around us, in the society around us, how is it going to impact your organization? And that for me is more important. I'm not going to talk it from an NGO kind of perspective or just from a general knowledge kind of perspective. I want all of us to understand, if you are the CEO in 2040 and those kind of things are happening, what will happen in your organizations? How will you run the organizations? All right. So I just want to set that context before really getting into some good data. So all of us have said, you are with me so far. Give me a thumbs up. I want some thumbs up once in a while so that I know you are with me. And I can start sharing the good data. All right. Okay. Let's do this, right? Let's do some information on this. So there are three things I'm going to talk about. We can talk about a lot, but I think given the time that we have, we can talk about three quick things, right? And after all of these things, I'll probably share what my thoughts are, but I also want to know what are thoughts going on in your mind. Okay, let's look at some demographic changes that is going to happen. Okay, in the next few years. I'm not even talking about 2040s now. Some changes going to happen in the next few years, and how organizations will change, right? And I call this progression because I think this change also is a kind of a progression. And look at this now. Some of the women in this group will be very, very happy. But men, don't worry, we'll also make some impact. Okay. The impact of women in business and economy. Now, all of us know this is happening. All of us know this will happen. But we talk about it very loosely in a way. Okay, to acha hai karna, it is good that women are participating, but you don't look at good data and really know what is really happening. Okay, so let me share just one important information here. This is and all these data are usually from UNDP, the United Nations, or the World Economic Forum, which is also a UN body. But some of these also can be from McKinsey, who does a lot of good research. So this is real good data. What is this data telling you? This is the data of high net worth individuals all around the world. The data is available from 2007 and 2020. I don't think the data has been updated. They will be doing it very soon. What is the data telling you? I'm looking at the chat. You can also unmute and say, just read the data for me.
Sir, I think it's that the net worth of the individuals who are women, it's increasing with every year.
True, very true. So if there are back in 2000 and 2007, 8, if there were about 100 HNIs in the world, how many of those were women approximately? If you read the data,
25%.
25%.
around 25 of them.
25%.
Today already, where are we are?
Almost 50%. 50%.
50%. बहुत सी ग्राफ ऊपर जा रही है अभी. It must have crossed more than 50% by now. And I don't know how the graph will look like, but let's assume that it's going to be the same way. And there is no reason to believe it will not be, because you have some historical data. And if you go back to 1900s, it could be just 0 or 1%, right? And look at the way the things have changed. But when this has to happen, right? And let me, these are two amazing things from just by 2030, 7 years from now. Obviously, women will not only, they will start new companies, okay, they will also be earning, having the half of the world's wealth. And a lot of you here in this group wants to become an entrepreneur, start a company at some point of the other. It is most likely that the 50% of women here will actually end up starting a more company, right? So women will become more entrepreneurs than men going forward. Okay, so you have some of the good data. One is that women will have more purchasing power, will be more high net worth individuals. Then you have women starting more companies and women having more wealth. In terms of organizations, if you live in a world like that, in terms of organizations, what do you think will happen? Not in the society, because we'll be running organizations. It already happened, right? Now it is a time that I want you to share your thoughts. Obviously, I have some thoughts. What do you think will happen? How would the organization practices change? What is the organization culture change? If at all, will it change or no? Right? If yes, how? I'm looking at the chat, and also how would the organization culture practices, HR practices, some of you might be HR students, all of you have studied HR in some form or the other. If I have to be the HR leader, not in 2023, but in 2040, and my CEO was a woman, okay, what would that change? Also think about what kind of products and services and industries will be on the upsurge. Because remember, women have got purchasing power. So if you have to start your startup where most of the consumers are women, the buyers are women, what kind of products or services will you come up with? And share your thoughts, because any thought is right. We're looking at the future. What I'm saying need not be true. And that's why this session is so important, because I also want to learn from you. What do you think? And probably update my slides and update my knowledge as well. Let me see if I have any message. There is. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So one service I'm seeing is like there are traveling service that are only for women because of the safety issue. So I think there are 1 or 2 companies, and I think that number will increase. That service will increase. And one more thing, like business formals for women, it's very hard to find. You get only in 1, 2 stores, and one very limited. So those things will increase.
Absolutely right. I'm sorry, I did not, all the tiles are not visible. I don't know. Could you say your name, please?
Sir, issue.
issue. Okay, issue made a brilliant point, right? Women participation, women leadership, especially increase, and this is quite obvious. And issue also talked about some of the products that you will be owning, and we talked about some business formulas, which is absolutely right. And the way I see it, and again, just from the data, an issue has just read what was on top of my mind, and these things are not in a particular order. Okay, this can happen in any way, in any shape or form. This is very important, what you see the second part on my screen also. Organizations will take a stand on women's issues, or might be any issues for that matter, any social issues. Let me give an example of what you already see happening around us. And this I found very fascinating, or what some companies did. In my lifetime, I never thought this will happen. It could be, it can sound very simple, yet if you have run organization, I've been working for 20 years, I could not see this happening. 2 years back, the Texas court in the US, they passed a judgment that women cannot go through abortion. Okay. Now, America is a very advanced, very free-thinking country. This kind of judgment, I think in any country, this is an extremely significant judgment, right? Because you always felt that it is women have a body to have a right to their bodies. I think men also has the same thing. It's not about any gender. But now you are saying, you know what? The government is saying, the court is saying, if you have conceived, you cannot abort the baby. You have to have the childbirth. Now, there obviously there are a lot of protests, Thankfully, I think half the country's courts have yet like supported that judgment, not all the states. So US has 54 states. So every state has their own law. So some states have supported, some states have not supported. Now, if this was like 20 years back, okay, this would have been just a movement for a few women in our society. They'll be coming on the streets and demanding justice and whatnot, right? And they won't get support from anywhere else. And the least they will get support is from the company, because companies have always believed staying with the government. So government has passed a law. There's nothing much you can do, and that's quite a fair assessment as well. But what happened was absolutely amazing. Companies like Microsoft, and there are many of them, in fact, but we know some of the common names: Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, whole of Meta, whole of Alphabet, really. They have decided that, we support our women employees in having the right to their bodies. Okay, they don't see in so many words, but they said that's, the women, our employees will have the right. So what they did was that they paid for whoever was really needed that. Obviously, they paid for the abortion by actually spending money, but by sponsoring their tickets, sponsoring the healthcare, giving the leaves. They flew them down to a different state so they can abortion and then come back to the main state. Now, this is really something which is amazing, because you couldn't have that thing happening previously. And some of these I believe happened because we have a lot of leadership in positions in leadership. There are a lot of women there. They understand. You can empathize better than men, quite naturally that way, right? So this is something I'm talking about, that I think irrespective of what the laws, legal things that happen, organization will take a stand on women's issues, which is going to change the way it is there. I think this one also you would agree with me that, in terms of equity, flexibility of working, of your jobs, women can empathize with it more, because, they have to undergo this kind of flexibility and in their work life and things like that. Because, you have, you see some of the practices that we have in HR, human resources, the leadership styles. Today, a lot of the leadership, if you build a persona of a leader, so a person has to be tall, well-spoken, extremely extroverted, go-getter, assertive, have a presence, And those are the persona of a leader. Well, this persona will no longer be, we already see this persona changing, by the way. It can be anybody now. It can be somebody who is very introverted, somebody who you can't hear so much, somebody who just, you won't even know the person is walking by you and he's a CEO of a company, right? So those persona of leaders will completely change. So any one of us, irrespective of the background or irrespective of who you are as a personality, can and would become a CEO. Okay, this personalities, because it will be less of an external will definitely require, right? I'm not talking about the skills, but it'll be more internal. Who the person is, it'll be more important than what the person does. Don't forget this. Who the person is will be more important than what the person does. Our leaders will be defined by who they are as a person. And that is what will happen, I think, because for women, we believe, and it's not something that I offer my own personal experience, but data also says that. And there are some things we can learn for women, men can learn for women as well. And I'm sure overall, this will happen, whether it's run by a women CEO or a man CEO, right? Recruitment practices. Today, if I have to look at the CV, I get a lot of applications, right? There's job opening. And the moment in the CV, I see that there is a gap. The person has not worked for 2 years or taken a break for 6 months. And suddenly there's a lot of negative thoughts coming in my mind. This person has taken a gap in her career. Person is not very serious. What is this? The person has taken a gap because of relocation after marriage. I don't think, well, she could have worked from home. I don't think this lady is very serious about her career. And even because of that, even men cannot take a break. And this is impacting men as well, by the way. It is not a women. It happens mostly on women because of social reasons, because of wedding, because of childbirth, because of spouse moving to a different location. Typically, women's career takes a backseat. And in my experience, I can tell you of 20 years of looking at CVs interviews that women had more career gaps than men. They become almost like less employable because of that. Because men sometimes don't understand. Break kaise le liya ye? Now, because of this, even men can take a break. All the men here would agree that, we also need a break. We are not machines. Right? We take a break 5 years and work for 5 years, take a break and come back. And we'll all do it willingly, willfully, and there'll be no like a question mark on our capability or on our attitude as an employee, and we'll continue getting good jobs. But this will happen primarily because we'll have more women leaders that way. One more quick thing before I move on, because this is an interesting topic. I can go on, and I'll really move fast from the next, because we are I'm cognizant of the time. But Ishu talked about some of the products and services, and talked about textiles and tourism. Very well made point. What we have also seen in societies, very interesting. Okay, very interesting. If you look at data, you'll see that. If I do a class on marketing and consumer behavior, I'll talk about those products, but let me just make it very quick. If you study economies where women's participation or women has more purchasing power, which industries grow? Fascinatingly, the industries grow are education, insurance. We tend to think it is about textiles and a lot of other things, because what happens with women, they're a little bit more forward-looking. They're more family-oriented. They want to invest in education. They want to invest in insurance of their family members. And something, again, we can learn, all of us can learn from them, is and if you are willing to, and you already see the change happening, right? 20 years back, look at the number of insurance companies and see it right now. 20 years back, look at the number of, education, and you see the 8 startups right now because of the investment that is going now. So if you want to start a company, invest in these organizations, in these industries, and not just into textiles and fashion and other consumer products like that. Okay. All right. With that, I'll move on and look at. I'll not skip that. The next one is really about rising life expectancy and declining fertility rates. Rising life expectancy means that we will live longer. I am born and I will live longer. Rising means that if I was till now, the average I will live at like 60. Somebody is a new generation born after me, they will live at till 80. So rising life expectancy. Declining fertility rates means the average number of kids or children a women will have. Okay, so if a woman has 5 kids average, and this is the world across, then the fertility rate is 5. If the woman has 2 kids, the fertility rate is 2. Now, these are not something you can control. And this is something that is not being discussed on so much. And you must be wondering, how is it going to change the way we work? Because again, I'm getting you back to the context of work. I'm not going to talk about this it's just a good data to look at. It's a good Friday talk over a cup of tea. No, this is going to impact the way you run organizations when you become CEO. In fact, it's going to impact the way more than almost the same as AI would or technology you do, if not more. Because with human beings, you're talking about talent. Each of the things that you discuss about talent, you can have technology, but if your talent landscape is changing, who you work with, who you hire, who do you train, who do you develop, who do you engage, that changes fundamentally. Then your job as a CEO also would change fundamentally, right? So let's see what will happen at work this way. And we'll share some data, of course, on this. I told you that I'll share some amazing data. This data is available right from 1950, like 170 years back or more than that. And we have the UNDP data, and it is predicting till about 100 years from now, at least about 70 years from now. What an amazing data it is. I have drawn 3 lines there. The lines are my own. It was not from UNDP. One is around 2000, 2005, around the same time that you were born, might be 1 year before or things like that. This is where the green line is where you were born. The orange line is when you are today. And the blue line is 2030, 35, this 5 years when you will become a CEO. So when you are born, where you are today, and when you become a CEO. And there are some line graphs, which talks about the life expectancy at birth, is how long you live. For developed nations, for least developed nations, for less developed nations, and there is an average of the world. Now let's take the average of the world. If you take the average of the world, how many years did an average human being live back in 1950? Looking at the chat. Question is, an average human being, how long did the person live? Yes, correct. Around 35 to 40. Niladri and Shivam, right? Absolutely. How long are they living today? What is the average age today? Around 65. Okay. So looks like I'll at least live around 65. That's a good news, right? How long would you were born much later than me? And when you become CEOs, and look at the way that how long you will live. Okay, when you become CEOs, it is actually increasing. It will go up to by 2-3 more years, and obviously it is going to increase forever. I mean, it's going to. I don't know what will end though. It'll be amazing. There are definitely people living at 100 years in the next 100 years or so. 100 years or more will be an average. This is amazing, isn't it? Human beings live 100 years as an average. Some of us will probably live. I mean, this generation might not, but they live for 100, 120 years will be common. All right. So this is one data I want to share with you. The next data is around declining fertility rates. As I mentioned, it is defined that number of babies one woman will have. So again, let's look at the world average. Okay, this is the third line from the top. How many number of babies did each woman have in the world back in 1950, 1955? Five, correct. 4 to 5 babies. What is going to be when you become CEO, the blue line? What, 2-ish, 1 to 2? I think 2 would be a good 1.82. Let's say it is 2. Okay. And the number is declining, by the way. And I don't know where it will end. And by the time you have this thing, do you find this data interesting? Show of hands, like, or give a thumbs up. This is something that's I want us to think about, and not just look at just any generic. I don't want to discuss any generic topic when I come to MDI. And let's see now what will happen, right? Because of the declining fertility rates, women having less babies, and we are living longer, what will happen to your organizations? How will you run a company? What are the practices you will have when you become a CEO? Okay. And again, before we do that, as I said that the gray is the new black. I have some gray here, and it is, people, this is not a happening thing, but at some point there'll be a lot of gray hairs around us, right? It'll be a happening thing. In 10 years' time, there'll be more grandparents than grandchildren. How amazing this data is. There'll be less today. If you're living in a big society, if you live in a place where I stay, I have about 100 flats. If I go down in the evening and go to the society park, there's so many kids, and obviously not as many older people. In 10 years, 2033, if I go to the same park, there'll be a lot of old people, but not as many kids. How amazing is this? The question is now, will become a Babaji looking at this data. The binocular has come. What will happen because of that? Now, I obviously wanted some thoughts from you, but pardon me, because I want to also be sensitive of the time. I'll share my thoughts, and do share your thoughts at the end of the talk, or we'll stay connected. You share your thoughts as well. But this is what I think will happen. Okay. I think this stage of life, like you play, you become a child, and you study, you work and retire, that will go. If you live for 80 years, 90 years, you'll have multiple stages in your life. So you play, study MBA finance, you work. Anyway, the world of work also is changing. Every 5 to 6 years, what you do also will change. So you don't do finance anymore. You probably go back to MDI Murshidabad again and study, I don't know, study something very different. Study human resources and come back to work. Or let me tell you something interesting. You can go back to NID Ahmedabad, learn painting, design, and start a new career. Or you can go back to some IHM. I have done hotel management. I might want to go back to hotel management. My aspiration was to be a chef. I go back, become a chef, and start my own this thing. And it might happen so within a career, within a lifespan of like 30 years of earning capability, I might have 2 or 3 careers. And I find this very nice. I don't see this is something as a problem. I find it very fascinating. A lot of us here, I did not, I would love to do something else, frankly. I love HR. I love to do something else. So if I were born like now, and, I have an opportunity to do something different every 5 or 6 years, not because I want to, because the world around me would have that. How fascinating is this? I can be a hairdresser. I can be a musician. I can be a painter in the same life, while I can be an HR guy as well. How cool is that? All right. And obviously, I'm just moving a little bit. And obviously, you have, there'll be multiple skills. You have to do different things. Just we talk about lifelong skilling. Because of this, you have to have a lifelong skilling. It is not a talk that, well, if you don't learn and you will not survive. but people are not giving good logic behind it. This is the logic. One, the world around you will change, plus you will live longer. You have to learn different things. You can't do the same job for 30 years. Okay, a couple of other thoughts around, the designing employee benefits, which caters to this group. Today, I have my average age of people around 27, 28. It'll be 50, 56, 57 at some point of time, or at least 45 when you become CEOs. Your employees will be, when you become CEO, employees will be older than you. You cannot have an HR fun event where let's go, let's have some daru, let's have some dance, get to a pub and enjoy. That has to change. It'll come, the way you design HR practices, policies will change. Your retirement cannot be 60 anymore. I don't know, it has to be 70, might be. Now, what do you do? What challenges will you have when you work with a grandfather? There'll be a lot of grandfathers reporting to you when you have just become a parent, new parent. और ये लोग बोलेंगे हमारे जमाने में तो ये होता था, how this thing happened. I don't want to be stereotyping here, but how will you manage that thing when you become CEO? This is going to happen. Yeah, so very interesting, right? And I don't, a lot of things that you do on so I think the practices will move from maintaining let's go wellness, yoga, things like that, to how do you support an aging workforce? And this is something McKinsey has come up with. They're also thinking a lot about it. How do you will have to probably have a system where your break has to be, in Japan, they have it. They can sleep in the afternoon. You know that? They actually can sleep in the afternoon. You might want to have that as well. How do you take care of them as employees? How do you support them in dieting, lifelong learning, access to healthcare? So again, a lot of things will be very interesting when you become CEOs. Okay, that's a quick one, and then we'll obviously end this. We can go on and on. There's so much interesting things happening around us in society. It's just amazing. Last data is the population distribution. Now, the point is that I made that you will be obviously be having less babies and more aging workforce, but how the world population be distributed? That is an amazing data as well. Okay, let me quickly share that. This slide is slightly busy because you have a lot more data from the United Nations compared to really what we have for the other areas, because this talks about some of the regions in the world as well. And if you see the Latin America, Europe, Southeast Asia, they're broken up into South Central, Southeast Asia, USA, things like that. Again, if you see here, you can obviously, I think this is recorded, so you can see this recording and then look at the data a little bit more details. If you see, there is actually just one line graph going up. The rest are coming down, which means the population in one region of the world only is increasing. The otherwise population is decreasing. Which is the area, which is the place where the population is increasing? Africa. And another thing to see here is that, and Elon Musk has been talking about this for a while. This guy is brilliant. Sometimes he does very different things, but nobody can debate the fact that he's extremely intelligent. And he's been talking about it, that everybody's talking about this population explosion. There'll be so many human beings on the planet Earth that you will not survive. There'll be no place. And he says, no, that is BS. We're going to have exactly the opposite. We will not have people. He's saying that population explosion is not a problem at all. Just worry about how many kids will be born in the world. So this data actually supports that. And that's the reason why actually he looks at the data and he's not a typical Babaji. There is no challenge with population explosion. The challenge is entirely different. India's population, and there's some good data on it as well, India's population will go up for a while. It will come back. I don't know if I have this data in this presentation. Probably not, but I'll probably, no, I don't have it. But yeah, I'll update the slide. It's actually going up. By the time you become a CEO, 2040s and 50s, that decade, it'll come down again. So India का population कोई बढ़ नहीं रहा है, बढ़ेगा लेकिन कम हो जाएगा उसके बाद. Okay, but again, quickly, what will happen because of that? I'll become a Babaji for a moment. Let's all of us become Babaji. Is that, geography will be history. Okay, I'll be working from Gurgaon, from Kolkata, from Murshidabad, from Hyderabad. It does not happen because the talent will be across the world, and mostly the talent will be in Africa. You won't have people at some time who's only in India. So right now, if I want to hire, I don't find people in Gurgaon. I go to Calcutta. I don't find people in Calcutta. I go to Bangalore. Not in Bangalore, Chennai. In your times, you had to go to Zambia and Mozambique and Kenya to hire. How cool is that? Do you like it? Thumbs up? Or you think, Bapre, ye kya job aa gaya? Thumbs up if you like it. How cool is that? Because you won't have people. Okay. And obviously, because of that, it will be a truly global market for talent, in a sense that hybrid work will stay because of this. And this is the biggest argument that I think for hybrid work, because you don't have talent. Okay, you will have multi-locational strategies. You will run companies which has got different locations, cost, cultural, diversity, inclusion, everything will be very, very important. Right? So yeah, those are the three quick topics I want to share with, and I felt that this is something that we must know about, not much talked about, because this is going to happen, is happening around us, and is going to fundamentally change the way you run organizations when you become a CEO. So on the ESG, the S factor, we must look at how the women, their purchasing power parity is changing, their participation in the world of economy, they're starting new companies, they're getting more richer, how the product services will change, and therefore what do you respond to it as a CEO? Secondly, as there is, people are getting older and people are having less babies in the world, how is it going to change our social factors and therefore in the company? And last but not the least, with the population distribution, first of all, you're having less people, but it's also been distributed very unevenly. Too much in Africa, too less in rest of the areas, including in India. What is going to happen because of that, right? And this is something fascinating. Again, we can talk about environment and governance. If you have some more time, some other day, we'll talk about that as well. Some fascinating work happening on those areas as well. But today, as of now, we'll leave with that. These are other things you can think about: global warming, technology, how it's going to happen, geopolitics, but some other time, not today. Okay, but that's it. I have some time to take questions. If you are okay, some of you want to leave, it is absolutely fine with me as well. But I'm happy to take some questions. If we have more questions, and if we can't take it in this session, I'm very active in LinkedIn. You can stay in touch with me on LinkedIn. You can scan it, or Debashish Ghosh, but it's easy to find. You can also connect in touch with me, or in Google you can type. I run a very I would say very, very popular hashtag HREday, stands for Hriday or HR Everyday. You can find me through that as well. It'll take me to my page. All right, Akanksha, I've taken entire 1 hour. I don't know if we have time for Q&A, but if there is, I can take some questions.
Sure, sir. There will be definitely questions for students. So if anyone have any questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Ishu, go ahead.
Yes, Ishu.
Yes, sir. One question I have, that graph of women where in the future there will be 60% of the workforce will be women. So that graph is of USA, right?
Ishu, the graph that you're talking about is not, 60% not women. You're talking about the first graph, which is, let me go back to the presentation. Give me one. That is a HNI. Okay. I shared this one. which is this one, is a HNI, right? High net worth individuals. This graph does not tell you about whether women will work more. They can become rich entrepreneurs, and they also, but this one you're talking about, I think, in a way that but it is a direct correlation is there. I think we'll have more women participating in workforce, but yeah, my graphs did not exactly say it, but you can infer from that. But I can take a question if you have that thought. And what is your question?
Yes, sir. So because I cannot relate with India context, like high paying, high worth individuals are taken as women because like there's a requirement by government that 2 board members should be women in a corporate. Like I don't see in future 60% of high worth individual will be a woman. Like numbers will increase, but not to that extent.
A possible issue because this graph that you see here is a world average. Unfortunately, other than WhatsApp, you don't have good data on India. I'm trying to find it. The data that I have is not very encouraging, and the data that I have is that the participation of Indian women in the economy, so people who have jobs, who are contributing something Indian economy, and that number is dismal, is pathetic. Only 25%, not 25, sorry, only 18% of Indian women, and you heard it right, only 18% of Indian women are contributing to the economy. And that, I think, is a massive loss to human resources.
Yes.
Pakistan, मुझे बहुत बुरा लगता है जब Pakistan is better than us in any way or the other. Pakistan is more than us. भाई सोचो एक बार, Pakistan. Bangladesh is 25%.
Pakistan, but they are not allowing girls to school. Like I have heard rumors and all.
That's the issue. That's what WhatsApp says. Data says something different. They're marginally better than us. Can you believe that? Data is different, and that is data that is authentic, right? Yes, supported by National Women's Commission of Women, so NCW, they have authentic data. But you are right, issue that this data is of the world. We don't have good data. Or what I see in the workforce in our own organizations, I obviously in the boards of a few other organizations. I mean, not in organizations, but I mean, with some, if I see the growth of the women students and everything in STEM, in management, in that gives me a good feeling that we'll have more women's participation. But this is one of the areas to look at.
Yes.
But thank you for the question. It was a good observation.
Yes, sir, definitely will have more, because as women are getting educated, they'll also want their children, especially a girl child, to get more educated. But from the weaker section of society, if they are not progressing, like women of weaker section are not progressing, then they cannot raise their children as well, like properly. So
yeah, you made a very interesting comment. I don't want to take too much because the questions have raised as well. Yes. Interestingly, the participation of education of women has gone up significantly. See, if you're talking about 100 years back, okay, women are a lot more educated, but in the same pace, the employment has not gone up. And that is a worry. So when you mention that women are getting more educated, therefore they will get more jobs, that is not necessarily true, very unfortunately. Because obviously, 18% of India has more than 70% women who are educated, but 18% are working. How sad is that? Anyway, these are things that keeps me very interested, but we'll talk about. Think about it. I think keep thinking about it, and see what and like me, become a Babaji sometimes and try to think what will happen to the world. We'll move on to Ravi.
Yes, sir. Thank you for answering the question.
Thank you it's a great question. Ravi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ravi.
My question is, what motivated your interest in promoting ESG in business world?
Because I think it's a competitive advantage. Like the way every company sells a great product, like the way every company has a great service, like the way every company has a great talent or people, which is a competitive advantage, and that helps them make money. I think it is good for business. Okay, one part of ESG, I'll give you a simple example, Ravi. I don't do it. What motivated me is not to earn brownie points, get hire more women, or it'll look nice on your reports. I don't do things for that. I have done enough. I don't think I need that kind of a visibility or accolades. I do it because I think it is good for the business. For example, I do a lot of work. My organization does a lot of work on hiring people from different backgrounds, including LGBTIQ community, including people with disabilities. Now, when you hire people from different backgrounds, what happens is that hiring is just one part, is the easiest thing to do. But people from different backgrounds come with different thoughts, ideas, innovation, creativity. And therefore, you have better products, and therefore you have better services. And therefore, it is good for the business. And that is my motivation. Now, obviously, it's an opportunity for you personally to make a difference to the world, to the society. That is there. But I can do it by running an NGO. I can start a girls' school. But for me, it is absolutely inevitable for the business. If somebody is not focusing on ESG, it is just a matter of time. They will lock their doors and shut their business and go home. I just make one more point, Ravi. It's such an important question. Governance part of it, right? The G of ESG. Governance, the way you see it is this: you cannot have a governance structure by putting some auditors in place. Like somebody is doing something wrong, catch the person, and then you then punish that person. Just terminate that guy. That does not happen. That is a very reactive, doesn't work. If we have to build a governance, we have to build ethical leadership. We have to have an environment where people can speak anything. Something is going wrong, and I just say that something is going wrong. There is some fraud happening. There is some issues happening. So I'm a whistleblower. I can just raise things. That is a culture that is helping. BSG is helping us build that culture. This fraud and all these things cannot be countered just by setting up a punishment cell or some harsh punishment. When the thing is already done, when the fraud has already happened, what is the point? There are so many examples in the corporate world, that you know of, that you can discuss about. These companies, the company's lack of governance has led down. We blame that, CEO was not ethical. The CEO was something who did not have the right kind of values. But see, the culture of the company was not that great. Because somebody would have noticed CEO doing something wrong, but nobody said it. Nobody raised the question. So that is why ESG is helping us. I don't know if I answered your question, Ravi, but there's my quick thoughts on that.
Yes, sir, definitely.
All right, thank you. Anvesha?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So first of all, I'd like to thank you for such a great session. It was quite insightful. And second of all, so I just wanted to, there were a couple of highlights that you mentioned in your PPT that got me thinking. Like a Babaji that you said. So in that case, I wanted to know, when you spoke about today's generation having a variety of careers and being able to, transition from one career to another, specifically in the management field. So I wanted to know that, because of the kind of employment that's going on at this point, and people going for multiple gigs, multiple internships, and, doing multiple things at once. When it comes to the social factors, I wanted to know your insights on if the gig economy, or if the entirety of this gig economy that has been on the uprise, if it is sustainable to maybe go for handling businesses, or if it is sustainable in businesses. Like, we have a lot of cases of moonlighting as well. And also I wanted to kind of have an idea about your insights on employment versus having a number of gigs, and how it will be helpful to us in the future, if there are any.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of it is going to happen in the future. So I'll take a guess, become a Babaji like I have done in the entire session. I think gig economy and the data, if you look at gig economy, some good data, it has been increasing at a very high speed, very high speed. In fact, today, at least 10 great organizations. When I say they're all like a Naukri, like a Monster. They have job sites. There are 10 such job sites which only cater to gig economy. And some of these have come to India, but most of this is in the Western world. Western world, it is not very unheard of. They have been doing it for a while. I think in India and Asia, it is almost seemed like a taboo, or you don't do it and things like that. But with the way, if you look at the data, the geographically dispersed, people are getting older, right? So when you become a CEO, it will become inevitable for you that you will have to have gig workers in your workforce. If you are CEO are thinking that, you know what, I only have to have permanent employees because of whatever reason, because security, moonlighting, culture and whatnot, you will not find people to work with you on mission. So your role as a CEO would be to figure out those things, figure out how do you drive culture, how do you kind of, can you actually allow a bit of moonlighting, really make those huge changes to enable gig workforce to be part of your organizations? Because I think without that, you can't survive. You won't get talent, because the gig worker might be from Africa as well. So it is not about whether gig workers will come to our workforce. They will come, and you will have to hire them. Your challenge would be then, how do you solve the other problems around it? Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Listen, I see a lot of hands up, and I'm just loving those questions, but I'm cognizant of everybody's time as well. I'll take one question, and I don't know, between Parth, Chinmay, and Abir. I think Parth was the first one who raised it between the three of you. I'll probably take one of your question, and then for the rest of it, we'll keep talking, because there'll be some amazing data that we can talk more about and keep discussing. So I don't know who will. Chinmay has already उसने अपना unmute button hit कर दिया है. So Chinmay, go ahead. Parth, I'm sorry, friend, for you, private chat on LinkedIn, especially for you. Okay? Okay. And to Abir as well. Chinmay, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So my question is, how can companies make sure that they are truly making a difference with their ESG approach, and not just doing it because it's a trend?
Yeah, that's a lot of us. That's a great question, Chinmay. A lot of us, we do it because it is a good thing to do. It goes as nice. I'll give you one way to do it. Okay, I'll give you a real example, very quick. Is that you have to measure the impact of your ESG. Okay, remember, whatever does not get measured does not get improved. And there is anything that you are doing, it cannot be measured, you should not do it. And rather, if you're anything that you are doing which cannot be measured, that means you're doing it for just fun, not serious about it. Okay, so one way to show there is an impact, you're really making an impact or not doing it for fun, is by measuring it right in the right metrics. And let me now come to the example. Okay, so we have a school that we support, and the school has 200 children. Okay, and we obviously, offer all the support that they require. Now, if I was doing it for fun, okay, I'll tell you how I'll measure my metric. I'll tell you that, okay, one metric is how many children you are supporting, 200. How much money you are spending, 200. Sorry, I don't know, 20 lakhs. What are the things you are doing? I'm giving books. I'm giving school uniform. I'm giving midday meal. We are all keeping a track of this. Some of us will keep a track of number of volunteers going there, number of executives. I am a CHRO. How much hours I'm spending on the school. That is a metric. Those metrics do not make any sense, because those metrics are just input metrics, not an output metric, because I really don't know what is happening just because I'm spending that 40 hours. I do not know what is happening with the kids because I'm spending that money. The metric would be that when I am supporting the school, what is the quality of education, what the quality of life, I'm really making an impact on them. Are they able to crack become a citizen of country where they can actually come to MDI Murshidabad and join. That for me is an impact. That cannot be measured in one day. That has to be measured over a period of time. If they are not becoming those citizens, and I'm not measuring that impact, then I'm doing it for fun. I'm not serious about it. So it is very important for us, when you're doing an ESG, what you measure, and you must measure the impact metrics, not the output metrics. It is not easy, but you could do that. So I don't know, it might have answered your question, but that was my thought on how to make it more impactful.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Chalo, aaj ke liye itna hi fir. It was lovely.
Yes, sure.
Talking to you. 2014, 2035 tak to you guys will become all CEOs. We'll obviously, hopefully keep in touch. And that day I can tell you, well, I have given some gyan to all of you, and some of these my gyan would have become like a Babaji, would have obviously come true, and we can discuss because 2040, another important thing will happen. And that is why I so enjoy talking to this group. One important thing will happen, 2040, I will report to one of you. You will be one of my managers. One of you will be my manager. So thoda mera dekh lena, performance management, rating, increment, bonuses thoda. Because that is going to happen. Because in 20 years time or 15 years time, I won't be the CHRO. You will be. But I'll be so happy and so delighted and so looking forward to the day when I report to you. It'll be so cool. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay in touch. And I'll not ask for the job. Don't worry. But stay in touch, because a lot of things that is happening, discuss a lot more about this. Thank you so much, Akanksha.
Thank you so much, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
hope I was at least the Rituraj Gaikwad. If it is less than that, I apology for the behalf of MDI Murshidabad and Akanksha. I'll do better next time.
No, sir, you were definitely Rituraj Gaikwad. And we extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Devashish Ghosh for gracing us with his presence and sharing his valuable insights. His expertise and experience have provided us with a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities in the corporate landscape. We sincerely appreciate your time and effort in guiding us, and your contribution for the success of Ameya Corporate Talk Series is greatly acknowledged. Also, thank you, sir, for being an inspiration and guiding light to our students. Your words will undoubtedly resonate with us as we embark our journey in the corporate world. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. All the best, everyone. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for the insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.